And I now give the floor to the Minister for Education, Heritage and the Arts, the Honourable Rosy Akbar. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. The Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Attorney General, Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, Assalamu alaikum, Nisambula Vinaka, and a very good afternoon to you all. Mr. Speaker, sir, I speak to support the 2021-2022 Fijian National Budget. But before I move to do that, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to thank Honourable Bulitavu for his address and for his support to the bill. Indeed, Honourable Bulitavu, you've said things that not only soothes the ears of us here as national leaders, but something that is going to give comfort to all those fellow Fijians who have anticipated and waited for this budget to be presented. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are going through what will be remembered by generations to come as one of the toughest moments in the history of our beloved nation. The actions that we take today, the decisions that we make today will determine the future of our country and our children for decades to come. Mr. Speaker, sir, we cannot afford to play political football with COVID-19, as some politicians are currently doing. And God forbid, if they continue to do, we could be lost. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fiji First government will not let that come to our people. And I urge all who truly care about Fiji and Fijians to quickly realize that we have a common enemy in COVID-19. COVID-19 does not care about politics. COVID-19 does not care about ethnicity or gender. COVID-19 does not care about socioeconomic status. COVID-19 only has one goal, that is to infect and to kill. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are in the middle of the largest and the toughest disasters that any government has ever faced. And the Fijian government, under the leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister, is currently mounting the biggest response effort in Fijian history. We need to put our people first. We need to ensure that all Fijians are provided with the tools to weather and survive this astronomical storm. And the 2021 and 2022 budget, Mr. Speaker, does that all. When we are in times of a national crisis, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we are under attack, there is a code, the humanity code. And that is the code we must all abide by in these tough times. This code calls for putting aside all politics and self-serving agendas. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, so let me go. This code calls for putting aside of politics and self-serving agendas and instead standing united to fight a common enemy. Now more than ever, we need this humanity code, unity, love, and to spread the messages of hope amongst our people. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, hope will enable us Fijians to channel our spirits and fight COVID-19 for the sake of our beloved nation. COVID-19, Mr. Speaker, is a global calamity that spread across the world at an extraordinary rate and has affected in total over 119 million people and claimed the lives of over 4 million. Fiji has not been spared. In Fiji, over 22,000 Fijians have been affected with the disease since March 19, 2020, and thousands of Fijians have had their lives turned upside down, including deaths and hospitalization. Mr. Speaker, so I'd like to commend the hard work done by the Minister of Economy and his team who have come up with a budget that widely caters for the needs of our people. A budget that is bold, economical, accommodative, and focused on addressing the needs of our people in these challenging times. The 2021-2022 budget, Mr. Speaker, was developed after consultation with everyday Fijians from all walks of life, and this is clearly reflected through the numerous policies that are designed to keep us going through these difficult times. During this critical time, Mr. Speaker, the Fiji First government sees the need to empower and uplift everyday Fijians, and this is exactly what the innovative and forward-looking budget will do. We are doing everything in our powers to protect our fellow Fijians, our Fijian workers, our Fijian businesses and families, all while protecting lives from this deadly virus. The national budget has been received very well by most people, and they understand that we have a fight on our hands and that we must face head-on as a united country. Mr. Speaker, the loss of life is always tragic, and we must do whatever it takes to protect every single one. I would like to give my sincere condolences to those families who have lost their loved ones due to this pandemic, and my prayers are with those who are currently battling this deadly disease. Mr. Speaker, every single eligible Fijian must get vaccinated, and they must also urge their friends and families to do the same. My ministry is the largest civil service employer in Fiji, and out of our 13,823 employees, to date we have 11,066 who have received their first dose of the vaccine. I strongly urge all our heads of staff, head office staff, teachers, and our ancillary staff, together with their families, to get vaccinated, not only for themselves, but for all our fellow Fijians. Vaccination is the best strategy to defeat COVID. Complying to advice and restriction is paramount. Mr. Speaker, every Fijian must abide by the health restrictions and measures set up by authorities. Sadly, we have some Fijians who are not complying. They're breaching protocols, and this will only prolong the situation. Mr. Speaker said, we've seen how countries around the world have been devastated by COVID-19, and based on the data and expert advice, vaccination is only a long-term strategy to win against this virus. We have, as Fijians, the power to end this and go back to our normal lives. The Ministry of Health advises that we get 80% targeted population vaccinated. We will be able to go back to the way things were pre-COVID. We need to get fully vaccinated. We need 2 doses of the vaccine if we are to keep our loved ones safe. Mr. Speaker, so let me say this. No one is safe until everyone is safe. Our frontliners are doing their part. Our doctors, nurses, medical professions are stretched to the limit, working 24/7 to treat those with the virus. Our security forces, police force, distribution teams, and service providers are risking their lives every single moment, every single day, to assist those families in isolations and lockdown areas. These are the realities that our teams are facing on the ground right now. Mr. Speaker, I recall the leader of opposition talking about things being rosy, rosy. Yes, not everything is rosy, rosy. We know that. And I'm glad you used my name, Honorable Leader of Opposition. We have to understand the realities at the ground level. And I would like to record my sincere appreciation to all those frontliners who have put the needs of fellow Fijians before this and have worked tirelessly to ensure that we remain safe and protected. All we have to do is to help them to put an end to this. So, Fiji, get vaccinated. Mr. Speaker, there are many irresponsible people, some already mentioned by previous speakers, involving some of our politicians, spreading misinformation, not only on COVID-19 vaccines, but Bill 17 that is before the House. And they're making a lot of people scared right now. I urge everyone not to be misled by this information, whether it is on media, social media, or just by word of mouth. As elected members of parliament, we are seen by Fijians as leaders, and thousands rely on us to give them accurate information. Mr. Speaker, as leaders, we have a responsibility to all our people because they have trusted us. It is deeply saddening for me to see what is happening to our people right now because of irresponsible comments and misinformation and outright lies that were spread by some of our members. At a time like this, when we are battling against COVID-19, here is an agenda to rip us Fijians apart. Honorable Linda Tambuya, Honorable Gavoka, Honorable Tiko Tukundua, Honorable Gani Baravi, and others should have known better than spewing lies that have led to a lot of unrest amongst our people. They completely misunderstood Bill 17, and because of the inability to understand, in my view, this has created unrest in our beloved nation and possibility of a racial division. Mr. Speaker said, I'm going to quote a comment from the social media regarding conversations around Bill 17. One comment said, I quote, "Did you know that you belong to nowhere in this world? You go to India. You do not belong here." Many comments like that followed. Comments like those, including threats of violence, are now spreading through groups on social media like fire. I had my teenager daughter wake me up last night after reading these comments, and she said to me, and I quote, "Mom, are we safe?" And I looked up to her and I said, "Why?" She said, "I'm glad we have dogs to protect our house." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Are we going to be attacked?" Unquote. Mr. Speaker said misinformation about Bill 17 is definitely creating fear amongst our people, and we need to stop that. I, like many generations of Fijians, have grown up in Fiji, and I love this country. The majority of Fijians are decent people and do not want to see a division. So I urge our politicians to stop this nonsense. Stop the old-style politics which seek to divide and conquer. You are hurting us. You are hurting our country, and you are hurting our people. Our actions have consequences. This is not a game. Not a game you are playing with lives of our people and the future of our country. The false information is spread by sad individuals whose only goal in life is to cause mayhem and destruction. Please stop that. Mr. Speaker said, let's come back to the vaccination. Vaccinations have been formulated by professionals who have years of experience and are backed up by science and research. Diseases such as polio, smallpox, tetanus used to cause many deaths around the world, and we beat them through vaccines. So why the resistance now? Mr. Speaker said, vaccines have been effective, as I said, in eradicating diseases throughout history, and this vaccination program that we are targeting will definitely help our nation come back to normal situation. Mr. Speaker said the 2021-2022 Fijian national budget is a testament of Fiji First government's commitment to investing in our country's future through education, through the education of our brave young boys and girls. A total of $704.6 million has been allocated to the education sector overall, $442.9 million to the Ministry of Education for all its operational needs, $71.4 million in operation grants to higher education, including our 3 universities and 7 TVET institutions. Mr. Speaker, say $159.6 million for TELS and Toppers scheme has been allocated in this financial year. The Fiji First government recognizes that opportunities for tertiary education exist through our TELS and National Topper scheme. 43,604 students have so far benefited from TELS, and this has allowed them not only to obtain important skills, but also to contribute to the capabilities of the Fijian workforce. Mr. Speaker said, due to the current conditions, some changes have been made to TELS to ensure that those who truly need assistance are prioritized. There are many initiatives under this program that the Honorable Minister for Economy has shared with us during the national budget. Mr. Speaker said TELS will be provided to students from families who have a household income of less than $100,000. We are increasing the number of TELS for TVET programs at FNU to 5,000 students in the next academic year. These students who will not be able to make the cutoff mark for TELS for degree programs or have an interest in TVET education will be able to join this scheme, including our Year 12 students. Mr. Speaker, say all MBBS students that privately joined in 2021 with a minimum Year 13 mark of 340 and first year GPA of 3.0 and family income below $100,000 will be eligible for a one-off payment of $10,000 by this government grant towards the MBBS education. Mr. Speaker said $20 million from this budget and $8 million from DFED has been allocated for the reconstruction of schools. Even during this pandemic, Mr. Speaker said this government had thought of our students in trying to build conducive facilities for our students. A number of schools that sustained their damages through TC Winston, Gita, Yasa and Anna will be assisted by this $20 million. Rehabilitation works in 6 other schools damaged by TC Winston will also continue, and the $8 million that we have allocated for this year under DFED will also help in the reconstruction of 3 schools in the Northern Division. Mr. Speaker, in this year's budget, we will continue with the reconstruction work, and from 2017, the government through the Ministry of Education and the Construction Implementation Unit has already spent $218 million in the rebuild of new schools, and this work will continue in the next financial year. Mr. Speaker, said the provision of good quality education is a partnership between ministry, the civil society, business communities, and the development partners. Australia continues to be a very important partner in education in this financial year, and we will continue with many curriculum revision programs. We are looking at improving business processes and the revision of our primary school English and Maths curriculum, which is scheduled to be trialed in 2022. Work has also begun on the revision of our secondary school English and Maths curriculum. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to thank UNICEF, who is another major partner with the Ministry of Education, and they have supported various WASH programs within our schools, and I would like to record my appreciation to them. Mr. Speaker, said $2.7 million has been allocated to support all our Year 13 students and all Fijian university students with a data bundle of $20 per month, which will greatly assist them through their online learning. Mr. Speaker, a number of secondary schools across the nation are offering online classes for Year 13, and this is conducted via Zoom Out of the 169 secondary schools, we have 64 schools who are conducting Zoom classes, and this assistance in terms of the data bundle will greatly assist families. Mr. Speakers, I'd also like to inform that all our 3 universities have been offering online education through this pandemic, and students will also be able to get assistance of this $20 a month data bundle. A survey has been conducted, and the results are very pleasing for those students who are engaged in home learning. And we have asked the Fiji Higher Education Commission to continue with ongoing surveys to see that our students are assisted during this school closure. Mr. Speaker, $16 million has been provided to cater for over 220,000 primary and secondary schools under the free education grant. This means that the students will continue to receive a free education grant under this government. $17 million has again been allocated for transport assistance, which will ensure 90,000 students will be able to travel to and from school under this assistance. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 has unprecedented impacts on sectors around the globe. A recent survey by UNICEF, UNESCO, and the World Bank and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development shows that globally, since April 2021, 1.5 billion learners have been affected due to COVID-19. The list of countries that have had to have complete school closure includes many, many more. Closer to home, children in New South Wales and South Australia are facing disruptions to their classes, like our own students here in Fiji. I'm pleased to say that the Ministry of Education, despite the difficult times, has continued to provide access to learning resources through multiple mediums. The Ministry has been providing supplementary materials to students for worksheets, radio broadcasts, videos on our Rosy channel, and more recently, the Learning Hub, which is proving to be a popular choice of online resource access. We continue to engage our students in learning, and teachers are continuously engaging with students and parents. The teachers are preparing and providing weekly home study packages to ensure home learning continues. Mr. Speaker, at this point, I need to emphasize that parental engagement in the children's learning at this juncture is equally important. I wish to commend our parents and guardians, and I wish to remind them it's very important that they assist the ministry in terms of continuity of learning, even if learning is happening in informal environment. Mr. Speaker, the budget will allow the ministry to reopen face-to-face mode of communication if our targeted population is vaccinated and clearance is given to us by the Ministry of Health. Our current plan is to stagger the reopening based on the Ministry of Health's approval, beginning from years 12 to 13. Currently, the ministry's curriculum advisory team is realigning the curriculum to ensure it suits the current need when schools do reopen. Mr. Speaker, the Fijian government for the first time will provide sanitary pads to all female students from late primary to year 13 through an allocation of $1.5 million. About 50,000 female students from primary school to year 13 are expected to be assisted through this initiative, the first of its kind. Mr. Speaker, while COVID-19 is our current focus, we cannot forget other threats that lie in wait. Strong and more intense tropical cyclones are becoming a more common occurrence due to climate change. And we are prepared under this budget to continue with our reconstruction and rehabilitation program of all schools. Mr. Speaker, our civil servants can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that they do not face any cuts in salary yet. Our school auxiliary staff continue to receive their full wages during this unprecedented time. Mr. Speaker, here is a government that looks after its people. Wherever possible, we need to show compassion to our people, especially our civil servants. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we expect our civil servants to rise to the call of the nation. The country needs you, and you must rise in a joint national effort to provide your support. Mr. Speaker, even though the country's revenue has come down, the government has not forgotten its civil servants, and to all the civil servants out there, we have thought of you, and therefore your salaries have not been touched. But I urge you to repay this by serving the nation, because like I said, now more than ever, Fiji needs you. Mr. Speaker, please allow me to conclude by quoting the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, on his keynote address during the 138th International Olympics Committee session. He says, I quote, "The people of the world are sick and tired, sick of the virus, sick of the lives and livelihoods it has taken, sick of the sufferings it has caused, sick of the restrictions and disruptions to the lives, sick of the turmoil it has caused to economies and societies, and sick of the tide clouds it has cast over our futures. I unquote. Mr. Speaker said, we can get out of this situation if we walk in solidarity. We must be positive and we must support every effort of the Fijian government to ensure that we are able to get out of these challenges in the near future for the sake of our people. I'd also like to take this time to wish our Fijian athletes all the very best at 20th Tokyo Olympic Games. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you. And I would also like to reiterate my final statement. No one is safe until everyone is safe. So get vaccinated, Fiji. That's the way forward for us. And I thank you.